the children up from school is hardly the highlight in every parent's life. But for Carol, a victim of the cruelly debilitating disease ME, it's an occasion to celebrate her return to normal life. 18 months of pain and exhaustion were ended when Carol received prayer at Peniel.
I can remember it was a real effort just to walk 5 or 6 yards from one room in the house to another, and I was limited to one trip downstairs and one trip back up again a day. I didn't leave the house.
Got ME, have you?
And
okay, what's your name?
many things that I ate used to produce the most awful feelings, unwell,
You haven't stood
burning hands,
easily.
sickness and dreadful upset stomachs all the time.
Time for it to end.
As a senior neurotechnologist, Carol was devastated by the illness, which devoured every ounce of her energy.
I couldn't concentrate properly, I couldn't read properly, I hadn't got the energy to write. It was very distressing for me not to be able to look after my children, and it was distressing for my husband not to be able to help me. He so much wanted me to be well, and yet there just didn't seem to be an answer.
I command you from this day, you're going to release this body.
At the time I was prayed for, I didn't feel any different at all.
Okay, here, you just come with me. Come with me. Go on, you're going to start walking. How's your legs feeling? Wobbly? It's all right.
It was really over the next 24 hours that I realised that things were very different for me physically, that I had started to feel a lot better, I'd got more energy, and gradually over the next few days I felt much, much better.
Started them walking, that's all. Just want you to know it's the end. The devil doesn't have control, Jesus has control. Doctors might not cure ME, Jesus does.
Jesus has returned a mother to her children, Claire and Daniel. Now they're making up for the lost time when Mum was too ill to talk, never mind play cricket.
It's better now. Our mum's better because she was ill for about 18 months and now we can do things that we couldn't do when she was ill.
It's hard to believe that I ever looked like that and that I could have been so ill, and that within a few seconds of being prayed for, it was that easy, it all just went.
Bishop Reid declares he's not a healer, and yet he has more miracles in this church per Sunday than most churches have per year. But he says it's Jesus. It's Jesus who does the healing, who saves, who salvages lives.
The thrill of the long summer break was melting into misery for Katy Medland. The sporting 16-year-old was gripped by a creeping illness she tried to ignore. While her friends couldn't wait to dive in the surf and race around, Katy couldn't even manage a walk on the beach. Where had this crippling thing come from?
I was unable to run. I couldn't sit on the ground. I couldn't even do simple things with them, and it just, the changes that in your life and that sort of thing happens, you don't even realise until it happens. I went up for prayer and came out and I felt perfect, totally healed.
The sum of medical knowledge had failed to relieve her crippling disease, but Jesus made her well.
I came out of the meeting and it had completely gone, and we had some friends for lunch and they said to me, well, prove it, you know, what couldn't you do? So I sat down on the floor and got up with ease, which I hadn't been able to do for months. It had been impossible. I had to sort of gradually lower myself down and had to have help getting up. And I went up to Peniel and played hockey, which I hadn't done for months.
And you couldn't do that?
Couldn't even walk properly.
The girl who got her miracle wants to tell the whole world.
Free.
Katy takes every opportunity, as in this BBC Essex radio phone-in.
Let's have a quick word with a young lady called Katy. She's 16 years old and she has had a miracle. Katy, hello.
Hello.
Thanks for sharing this with us. Now, we haven't got much time, but if you can tell us fairly briefly what form your miracle took.
Well, in July I began getting stiff, and 3 months later I was diagnosed as having psoriatic arthritis, and it gradually got worse, and all the symptoms disappeared completely, and I thought, oh, maybe, I don't know, I'll leave it. But that same afternoon I played hockey, and I was fine, and I've been fine ever since.
So you would definitely say in your heart of hearts that was a miracle?
Definitely.
Chartered accountant John Cope had been married to a Christian for 25 years. His wife Faith had attended Peniel for 17 of those years, and his son and daughter were brought up in the church. But it had meant nothing to John. He had no need of God. Until, that is, something happened.
I was taken to hospital with pains in my stomach by ambulance one morning. I was quickly diagnosed as having pancreatitis, which is the inflammation of the pancreas, a vital organ in the body.
When I studied John's case notes, it was very obvious that he was categorized as at grievous risk to both life and health. And at one stage, surgery was being contemplated as an immediate possibility.
The senior registrar had told my wife that I might not recover.
A man was dying, and I told people here, no, you have to give that thing away. This man here was in hospital. He was dying. He had pancreatitis. In fact, he was in hospital, not a Christian, just a man dying.
But given the fact that he was being actively considered for surgery that weekend, and then to have him on the Monday and Tuesday actually looking quite bright and cheerful was quite tremendous.
I said to my wife, who had been a Christian for many years, look, I would like to see Bishop Reid, who was the pastor of her church. And Bishop Reid agreed to come and see me.
The thing was, he needed life. That's the most important thing. So I challenged him. He'd always lived his life in compromise. And look where it had got him. And when I laid the facts on the line, I then told him there's a God who heals. His name is Jesus. And he loves him. And so I prayed with him, and from that day, by God's grace, he turned around the corner and God restored his life. Because God doesn't want anyone to perish. He loves all, but he wants us to surrender to him.
Yeah, that's right. He does.
Do you want to say anything?
Well, I wasn't expecting to come here and have to talk as well as sing, Michael. But it's true. They decided I was better, that I didn't need to be operated on. And for the next week, I steadily got stronger and stronger. And I left hospital roughly 2 weeks after Bishop Reid had prayed for me.
The thrill of doing the weekly shopping might seem bizarre. But for Margaret Argent from Burnham and Crouch, it's a delight. Margaret suffered from chronic back pain despite an operation 12 years earlier. Her decline left her helpless and aching, dependent on her family for everything. There was no improvement despite the doctor's best efforts, physiotherapy, drugs and x-rays. Margaret returned to a specialist who advised another operation. But the outcome was very risky. She was told she might well end up in a wheelchair.
But then you got all these pains in your other joints, in your shoulders and hands and all over, so that by the end of the year you actually were in hospital for a spell at the end of in October, and by January you were sort of only just creeping around, weren't you?
And I got to the church and I thought, well, what am I doing here? You know, I don't see that this is going to do anything, and I'm in a lot of pain. Anyway, I shuffled my way into the church. We're going through the door. I found everyone so friendly, which was quite nice, and I thought, well, you know, we'll see. And I sat and watched and saw other people being healed, and I thought, well, you know, please let it be for me.